have so many of our sisters and so many family friends gathered here for this session. We, the Family Apostolate and Pastoral Commission team, on behalf of our provincial, Reverend Sister Pramodin, and our link person, Reverend Sister Evelyn Montero, extend a warm welcome to you, dear Father Tony Menezes, and to each of my dear sisters and our family friends for your presence to get inspired through the session on family values on this Google platform. It is rightly said, family is God's creation to make His universe a celebration. Let us then seek the divine assistance as we begin our session with a prayer.
Let us sign ourselves, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty Father, we come before you today asking for your protection over our families. Cover us with the precious blood of Christ. Take complete control and change over of all our families all over the world. Guard the hearts of all the family members so that they may only display love instead of hate, anger, or bitterness. Help every family to remain united in your love. Foster among the members of the families continual trust and dependency. Preserve the bond of love and support towards each other. We bring before you all the families which are broken and are experiencing lot of pain and struggle. Comfort and strengthen us in all our brokenness, sickness, misery, and pain. May we build our families, model and center on the Holy Family of Nazareth. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Sister Pramila, for leading us in prayer. We now have Sister Anna Maria, the coordinator of the Family Apostolate Commission, would be introducing us to our resource person, Reverend Father Tony Menezes.
Pleasant evening to one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce an eminent personality as our guest speaker for the session, Reverend Father Tony Menezes from the SVD order. He was previously a director at Ishwani Kendra, an institute for missiology and communications at Pune. Currently, he is the director at Atmadarshan, a center for spirituality and counseling. He holds a doctorate in clinical counseling psychology. He animates workshops on formation, leadership, marriage and family, positive psychology, counseling, etc. He also teaches at NVSC Pune, Ishwani Kendra, Matade, JDV, etc. In spite of all his accolades, he is truly humble. He has given himself generously to the well-being of others. He is well-focused and carries on his responsibilities to the best of his abilities. He is extraordinarily affable and approachable. His life inspires us to believe in the philosophy, I am because we are. And he leaves no stone unturned to achieve a sense of this belief in the world. We are extremely delighted to have you in our midst, dear Father, and wish you all the best. Over to you, Father.
Thank you. Thank you, sister, for the warm words. We'll start right away. Those of you who have got a paper and pen with you, a small exercise before we begin. Some of you may not be good artists or great artists, but I'll request you all just to draw your family picture, your family doing something together. Just sketch. Don't bother about the quality of the drawing and all. All of you, I hope you'll be able to get a paper and pen somewhere. Just draw your family, all of you doing together. That's the only instruction. Take a A4 size paper, something like this, A4 size, and just draw your family. All of you are doing something together. Just draw it. We'll just spend some 4 minutes for that. After that, we'll start. But just draw that. What I want to talk to you today is about how we understand families, or what the way we kind of understand family issues, family problems, what makes happy families, what makes unhappy families. So some of the psychodynamics, some of the inner dynamics that kind of may help us understand how to deal with our families, or maybe when families are in problem, how to help them. I believe most of you are religious sisters and also, I guess, lay people. The purpose of this presentation is to help us to know families. When families come to us with their problems, to have a kind of understand the back of our mind what may be the issue and how can we arrive at a solution. So this will be the kind of dynamics we'll be working on. Way how we can help ourselves, our own families, and to help other families how to move towards a more functional or a more dynamic or a more happy or a more kind of helpful kind of families. So I'll just talk about 6 points because of which some problems may occur in the family. The first point is stroke deprivation. Now, we know, I don't know if you have gone to what you call orphanages sometimes, or you have seen children sitting all by themselves. And have you ever noticed children rocking themselves like this? I hope you can see me rocking myself. It is called as the rocking chair syndrome, especially when you see children rocking themselves, rocking chair syndrome. And this particular syndrome indicates that in the child, touch was missing. The human touch is missing. We know a lot of research and a lot of studies that the touch is very important, especially when the child is born. The mother's touch is very, very important. Now, sometimes due to a lot of factors, the mother could be careless, or maybe due to other factors, the small babe can be deprived of touch. And when that happens, that bonding doesn't happen. The child does not feel belonged to. The child does not feel comfortable. And therefore, this whole phenomenon we say about the child rocking itself, just moving, rocking itself, is simply to indicate that the child wants to comfort himself or herself. Now today, in families, when we talk about stroke deprivation, we can talk about what happened in childhood, but what happens amongst us also as grown-ups. In some families, there can be stroke deprivation. I'm not just merely talking about the physical touch, but also about the way we talk to one another. For example, sometimes we say, your words were so touching. The way you talked to me was a very touching experience for me. The way you accompanied me, or the way you were there for me, I was very much touched. This kind of touch is very, very important for families today. Today we know a lot of families are suffering from what we call as stroke deprivation. Meaning to say, the human touch is not there via words, via actions, via simply gestures, or even by looks. Today what is very important is many of us are looking only at our cell phones. We're not looking at one another. So even the look can give us what we call the human touch. So in children, when the stroke deprivation takes place, the child does not see this world as a comfortable world, doesn't feel belonged. And this rocking chair syndrome simply indicates that. So also today, as families, as grown-ups, Even we can suffer from a stroke deprivation, wherein that human touch, that human quality, those kind words, the genuine words, that kind look sometimes can be missing. So the first factor that makes our families kind of dysfunctional is stroke deprivation. As I was mentioning, don't limit stroke only to the physical touch, but words, looks, gestures, accompaniment, actions, all of this. So this is the first thing. Very much to understand the human touch is very, very important. The second is, as it is mentioned there, when I see, I'm not seen. Now, if you're with people, sometimes you must have seen, especially young infant, if it is kept in the room, take for example a 1-year-old child kept in the room, and the mother is there with the child. If the mother goes, say for example, in another room, the child tries to see where the mother is gone. Now, when a child is very young, keep in mind, when the child is not able to see the mother, for the child, the mother is not there. It's because the mother becomes an extension of the child. So once mother is not seen, that means mother is not there. The child does not understand that mother is going to come back soon. Therefore, the child starts crying. So narcissistic deprivation just means the child always wants to feel kind of reinforced, wants to feel confirmed. When I see, I'm not seen. The opposite of that is when I see, I'm seen. And if in every family today, I'm coming to the adults now, we can ask ourselves as a family member, when I look at others, others look at me. Am I mirrored by them? Are they concerned about me? Or when I see, I'm not seen at all. Sometimes today people complain of, I feel lonely in my family. I feel unwanted. I feel nobody understands me. I feel nobody is there for me. We all are staying under the same roof, but it's like nobody is there. This is what we call as narcissistic deprivation. So the second most important factor for families to move from dysfunctional families to functional families is to reinforce one another. When I see, I'm seen. When I talk, others talk to me. When I wish good morning, others say good morning to me. When I share something, others share something with me. When I sit close to them, they come close to me. When I'm hurt, I see their concern in their eyes. When I'm sad, they're there for me. When I'm happy, they rejoice with me. This is what we call as when I see, I'm seen. If that does not happen, this is what results in narcissistic deprivation. And this is what makes a family or leads to a family becoming dysfunctional. So very important, keep in mind, all of us need this. When I see, I'm seen. When I talk, others talk to me. When I cry, others feel sad. When I smile, others also smile. So this is also called as mirroring. Very, very important. So if we want to make our families functional, this is important that I'm able to say, when I see, I'm seen. So this is the second most important factor to move from dysfunctional families to functional families. And in case this does not happen, then the result is all of us may be together in the family, but I feel lonely, I feel misunderstood, I feel nobody is there for me. So all of these things happen. So this is the second important factor. When I see, I am seen. The third factor you have you see on the screen there, abuse. Just look at that picture. We'll just just pause for a while. Just look at that picture. Can anyone give a feedback to me on the picture? When you see this picture, what comes to your mind?
Abuse.
Okay, abuse. Yes. The third reason why a family may be dysfunctional is because of, correct, because of abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. It can happen in our childhood, it can happen now. Verbal abuse, words. Sometimes our words can be so cutting, our words can be so horrible sometimes. Words can simply pierce people, the type of words that we use. Sometimes those are even, they can be sarcastic words, they can be bad words. And that kind of abuse, when those are directed to people, it makes them feel low, makes them feel I'm nothing. So sometimes the words convey that very meaning you are not worth, you are useless, all of this. So sometimes if you have heard this kind of words in our childhood, maybe those scars still remain with us today. And sometimes we can hear these words even today, maybe in our families, sometimes a spouse, sometimes parents and children, sometimes our own siblings. We can be using words to cut down people deliberately to make them feel small, to make them feel as if they are nothing, sometimes to show our indifference. And this makes a family dysfunctional. The second kind of abuse we know is physical abuse. Sometimes we can be victims of physical, beating or maybe slapping or all those kind of things. I know of a case wherein, this person came to me for counseling and he was telling me, when I was growing up, my father used to be so cruel to me that he would beat me. And then he would say, if you cry, you're going to get one more. So this person was not even allowed to emote, was not even allowed his feelings. So sometimes the physical abuse can go to such acute extent. So physical abuse can also makes them feel totally as if has no worth. So sometimes that physical abuse can leave scars on us today. And the third kind of abuse is sexual abuse. We know from what we read in the papers or when we hear other people talk and all, it is not uncommon. A lot of people become victims of sexual abuse in their childhood, sometimes can be even later. Now, when that happens, the person begins to feel as if he's broken, something is wrong in me, something is dirty in me, or I'm guilty about something. And when we kind of live with that kind of burden, we're not able to totally give of ourselves in a very beautiful way to one another. And that leads to a lot of dysfunctionality in the family because we don't feel belonged, we feel unclean, we feel something very much is gone wrong and all. And unless we heal ourselves of this, we need to realize that these scars can remain. The implication for us as of today is that in case I have been a victim of this verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, keep in mind the self-esteem has taken a lot of beating. So we feel low, we feel unwanted, we feel guilty about ourselves. Sometimes some people even feel guilty for small things. So we feel unworthy. And those scars need to be healed. Otherwise, perpetually, that kind of burden will be there on us. So that's the third kind of things that can lead to dysfunctional families, the verbal, the physical, or the sexual abuse. The fourth is traumatic life events. There's a man sitting there, all forlorn, all sad and all. Now, sometimes we don't know why someone of us or someone amongst us can experience a lot of trauma in life. It can be sometimes the death of a parent, or it can be the death of a friend, somebody very close to us, or maybe witnessing something very traumatic, or personal experiences of a lot of trauma. And trauma always leaves a burden. It's like as if there's something on our back. When traumatic life events happen, our growth gets controlled. We're not able to grow in that freedom. We're not able to grow in that happiness because always something is kind of pulling us back. So, important things, the need to process this. Traumatic life events are not always pleasant to remember, but then trying to escape from them, avoid them doesn't make them go away. It's only when we are brave enough, when we face them, and when we own them up. As this is my trauma, this is my sadness, this is my pain, this is my hurt. I will face it. I will find help to do it. I think that's the time that something good can happen. Important to realize sometimes the trauma is too much. I alone may not be able to handle it. I will have to have the help of somebody else. And always let's keep in mind it is okay to ask for help. Because sometimes, especially in our Indian culture, we operate on the concept of shame, meaning to say we are sometimes unwilling to open ourselves, unwilling about what happened to us, unwilling to talk about ourselves because we think that will bring shame to me or shame to my family. So very often in the collectivistic culture like our, like Indian culture, shame is used as a social control, as a means to keep us in our place. Keep in mind, this same concept of shame that we use to hide or keep up the name of the family can do a lot of damage to us. Damage in the sense we don't feel that inner freedom. We're not able to feel the joy of life. We're not able to liberate ourselves because this burdensome memory, this painful memory, or the things that we've experienced, it always remains with us. It's always there with us. So very, very important for us not to carry this burden. Find ways of letting go. Find ways of resolving this burden and not to give company to this burden or just go on being attached to this burden. You know, we can always think about why do I need to live life with this pain? Why do I need to carry that burden? Why do our families need to live an inferior kind of life? Why our family life has to be so low in quality? The moment families open themselves up, a lot of good can happen. It is said that very often the problems in the family are equal to the number of skeletons that are there in the family's cupboard. You know, all of us, all of our families have negative things. There can be somebody who could have been an alcoholic, somebody who could have brought shame to the family, somebody who could have done something wrong. And most families, as I was mentioning, we try to hide it. We like not to talk about it. Everybody knows, but nobody talks. But then when it is not talked, when it is not open, it is like a big burden on us. And very often, the proportion of our abnormality or the proportion of our pathology is equal to the number of secrets that we have. So best thing is, if you have trauma, hurt, pain, do something about it. It serves no purpose to carry our trauma. It serves no purpose to carry on being hurt, carry on being pained, carry on being sad. It only takes the joy of life from us. Let's remember what Jesus said, I came to give you life and life in all its abundance. We will never be able to experience the abundance of life if we are not able to be open and just let go of our trauma. So the simple question is, when you can be free, when you can be happy, when our families can be free, when our families can be happy, why carry on the burden? Why carry on the burden? Some time back, a lady came to me, and this lady was having a horrific time in her marriage. Her husband was very abusive, alcoholic, plus abusive. And this lady did not even have that courage to even tell her parents about what was happening in her wedding life, in the married life. She was too ashamed to tell her parents, you know, this man I married I fell in love with him. We were lovers. We married. And then within 1 year, everything was ulta. Violence, alcoholism, beating, all of this. So she did not even have that courage to tell her parents what was happening. And when that happens, when we are not able to process the trauma, the hurt, and the pain, then we are not able to be free. We're not able to really be ourselves. It cannot lead to a happy family because it's like something is wrong over there. And when we know something is wrong over there, the family itself will not be able to be free. The spontaneity will be lost. The laughter in the family will be lost. The openness in the family will be lost. So very important to learn to process our traumatic life events. The fifth thing that can keep our families dysfunctional is what we call as enmeshment in the family system. What it means is this. Say suppose the husband and wife, they've got their own problems. They got their own problems in the family. But then they're not willing to confront this problem directly. So what they do, they include the children in the problem. Say, for example, the boy wants to go and meet his friends. He just has got his classmate. The boy wants to go and meet his classmate. So he asks his mother, can I go and meet my classmate? The mother says, yes, you can go. But as soon as the father says this, the father will say, no, you don't go. It is not because he doesn't want to send the boy out. It is simply because his wife has told him to go. So very often, husband and wife get at each other, or they want to get at each other through the children. So this is what we call as enmeshment. We include our children in our problems. The mother says yes, the father says no. And when the father says yes, the mother says no. Now this is very dangerous because the child is getting a mixed message. Father good sometimes, mother good sometimes. Mother bad sometimes, father good sometimes. So when these mixed messages come, moral development, social development, especially the moral development, doesn't take place in the child. And the child is not able to distinguish what is right and what is wrong. And it is highly probable that the child will grow up doing the wrong things because that is what he's learning from his parents. Yes, no, no, yes, and he's enmeshed in the family system. So the rule of thumb is parents, mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, when you have your problems, please do not include your children in your problem. Don't take revenge through your children. Resolve your problems among yourselves. Let the children grow the way they ought to be. Let them not learn, let them not get mixed messages from you all, because if that happens, their moral development is affected, and they will not know what is right, what is wrong, and the result is they may end up doing wrong things. So do not include your children in your problem. So this is what we call as enmeshment. And keep in mind, every family is a system. System means, for example, the whole car is a system. If one wheel is punctured, the whole car is affected. So also in a system, when everybody grows healthily, the system functions well. If something goes wrong, the whole family is affected. Therefore, for a happy family, all of us should contribute towards each other's growth. Sometimes in a family, we see one person becomes the scapegoat. Whenever something goes wrong, always that person is targeted. Others may be at fault, but no, this person is targeted. Say, for example, these days, everybody uses the cell phone. And so, when everybody uses the cell phone, all may be using, but then one person will be targeted and will say, okay, that person is always on the cell phone. Now we are making that person as a scapegoat, and that person is not allowed to develop in freedom because everybody is pointing out at him. But keep in mind, The moment we target one family member, the moment we make one person a scapegoat, it negatively affects all of us. That is what we call as a family system. When one tire of the car is punctured, your car may be very costly, very posh, top model, but if the tire is punctured, you can't run it. So also, if we don't take care of any one of our family member, the whole family is going to be affected. And so the good or the happiness or the welfare of one person affects everybody. So also the bad or the wrong behaviors of one person affects everybody. So the common sense is, let's try to help each other. Let's wish for the welfare of each person. It serves no purpose if we gossip about other person, if we talk ill of the other person, if we pull the person down. Indirectly, we are affected. It affects everybody. So keep in mind, a family is a system. If one tire is affected, no matter how good your car is, it's going to be affected. So this is the important point, not to enmesh or not to, enmeshment is something like this, not to enmesh the children, include the children in the problem. So when two people have problem, resolve it among yourself. Do not especially include your children. Very bad, because the moral development will be affected. So this is what we call as enmeshment in the family system. And the last is the neglect of developmental needs. Now, if you see on your screen over there, you see from toddlerhood, from infancy till old age. Now, every age has got its demands. Every age has got its needs. Say, for example, a 1-year-old baby. Its needs are that almost all the time it needs to be attended to. The mother has to be there, somebody has to be there to take care or to attend to the child. When the child smiles, somebody has to smile. If the child is crying, somebody has to come and lift the child. Now, if that does not happen in this age 1, then the developmental need is affected. Meaning to say, the child feels nobody is there for me. I cannot trust this world. So also, as the child grows, it needs to play, it needs to try doing things, it will stand up, it will walk. So the child needs to be encouraged as it develops all its faculties, whether it is walking, whether it is talking, whether it is running, whether it is picking up things, or a simple things, or even a simple thing as buttoning one's shirt. When a child is able to start the thing and end the thing, say suppose the child buttons his shirt or his shirt and does it right from beginning to end, the child feels that I can do something. But very often what happens is sometimes we get impatient, and then the parents or others can complete that work for the child. And then try to imagine what is happening in the mind of the child. I'm not capable. Others can help me. So that developmental need very often is not met because the child sees somebody is coming and helping me. Okay, we'll leave that. Let us come to, like, for example, adolescents. Many of you are parents, or we'll be dealing with the youngsters and all. A youngster, say of age 18, 19, 20, the youngsters of today, one of their main developmental need is to have a sense of identity. Who I am. Because when they were young, they saw themselves as extensions of their parents. I'm part of my mother, I'm part of my father. But by the time they grow 16, 17, 18, they want to be independent. They realize they're not their father, I'm not my mother. So they want that independence. And in this independence, they can try a lot of things. And that's the reason a lot of parents, they experience difficulties, challenges in dealing with their children at this time. But the whole thing is that the underlying thing is they're trying to find their identity. Who am I? Who am I? What is my place in the world? And so parents should help their children to find or to discover their identity. Very often what happens is, as I was mentioning, 18, 19, 20, the children rebel a lot. They disobey, they back answer, they don't do the things, they go their own way. Sometimes parents can get frustrated. With me personally, I've met so many parents, but I don't know how to deal with my boy. I cannot understand how to deal with my girl. A few years back, she was so nice, so good, but now I don't simply know how to deal with them. This is very much true because underneath the whole thing is I want to know who I am. I want to discover myself. I want to find my identity. So especially at this age, though it will be very difficult, parents have to be extra considerate, maybe extra generous in trying to be with their children, in trying to accompany them. The word accompany is very, very important at this time. Accompany, coach, mentor, train, very, very important at this time. So the child or the young boy and girl doesn't feel that my parents are not there for me. As long as the boy and girl knows, no matter what, my mom is there for me, my dad is there for me, it will be okay. So we need not be too much concerned because after some time, by the time they reach age 23, 24, they're going to settle down. But only during this age 17 to 24 will be a little difficult time. So we have to be mentally prepared for that and not say such things are once upon a time it was so good, but now, they're so negligent, they don't know what to do and all. That is fine, but it's a growing up phase, it's in the adolescent phase. So at adolescence, the whole thing is about finding the identity. And then later, when they reach the age 25, between 25 and 35, at that particular time, it's all about, if I found my identity, the next thing is intimacy. If I am thinking about marriage, I need to be comfortable with a partner, a boy, a girl. If I'm a boy, I need to find a partner for myself towards whom I can be intimate. So also, I know there are a lot of religious over here. If I am a religious, a sister or a priest, I need to be intimate with the way of life I have chosen. But whether we are married or not married, the previous question is very important. Who am I? Am I comfortable the way I am? Am I able to accept everything in my life? If that is so, then I'll be able to be intimate with my partner. I'll be able to be intimate with my vocation. Otherwise, I'll be forever dissatisfied. I'll be kind of lost. Or I'll manipulate others, I'll abuse others. And the trauma or maybe the difficulties I experienced in my childhood, yes, the face now. So the big challenge at this particular age 25 onwards, in fact, it may go from 25 up to 40 onwards, is to be intimate. For married people or those who are planning to marry, to be intimate with the partner. And for people who have made a choice for a different way of life like Christian and religious, to be intimate with the way of life they've chosen, their call, their vocation. But as I was mentioning, the previous question is important for this. Who am I? If that is not resolved, and if I'm not happy with this answer that I get, who am I? Then I'll be lost. I can manipulate others. I can abuse others. Or I can be forever kind of searching, restless, not settled down. All of this can happen in my life. So this thing is very important at a particular time. And then later, once we are cross 40s and all, the developmental need is to find myself useful in life. That I'm a blessing for others. So in short, at every age, we have what we call as a developmental need. When we are young, our parents are supposed to facilitate the meeting of these needs. But then as we grow as family people, now those of you who are over here, all of you are adults, you all should be able to take care of your own developmental needs, not to look out for others. So today, in fact, if you find yourself restless, dissatisfied, not happy, not being able to be intimate with your partner or intimate with your vocation, that means I need to take responsibility. After the age of 25, it is not the time to look back and find faults. She's responsible, he's responsible. I need to take responsibility. And therefore, every person, whether we are a family person or maybe a religious person, do I Do I have that resource within me to take responsibility for my happiness? Or am I still looking out for scapegoats or still looking out for blaming others? So this is very important as far as the sixth point is concerned, that our developmental needs need to be met. So as long as this is done, as I was mentioning, the first is touch, stroke deprivation. I need to feel the touch. Children need to feel the touch of their parents. We as adults need to feel the touch of people who will live it. The touch can be in words by very by very affirmative words, by encouraging words, by complimenting words. A touch can be with the help of a look or all of that. So we need to touch each other's in different ways if we have to move towards functional practice. The second is when I see, I'm seen. When I smile, you smile back at me. When I look, you look at me. When I talk, you talk at me. When I'm hurt, I see concern in your eyes. When I'm happy, I see you being happy with me. All of us are in need of this narcissistic kind of need to be met. Otherwise, we feel that I am not wanted. We feel not belong. So whether we are kids or whether we are adults, this particular narcissistic need of ours has to be fulfilled. The third I told was abuse. As children, we could have faced abuse. Even now, in different ways, we could be victims of abuse, whether verbal, physical, sexual. But then this leaves scars on us. But as of now, as an adult, can I take responsibility and say, I can heal myself. I can take care of myself and not learn to live as a victim. Many of us have learned to live as victims and not as people who can take care of themselves. It all begins in the mind. Do I have a victim mindset, or do I have that mindset that I can really take care of myself? So this is important. The fourth thing I told was traumatic life events. We need to find ways to resolve this. All of us can have trauma. All of us can have pain. But can I work with it? The fifth thing is enmeshment. I already told, especially those of you who are parents, do not involve your children to resolve your issues. Do not give mixed messages. Father saying yes, mother saying no. It is going to affect the moral development of your kids, of your children. They will not be able to make good decisions. And the sixth is about this, that at every age we have our needs. Those needs need to be met. What humanizes us? As I was saying, this is just to summarize. What humanizes us? Mirroring, touching, talking. Three simple things. Mirroring simply means, as I was mentioning, when I smile, you smile at me. If I'm hurt, I can see your concern. Touching, affirmative language, gratitude words, saying thank you, being there for the person. And last, we do talking all the time. But I guess this is the most important thing. Talking and listening. The word talking is listening is mentioning, is missing there. Talking and listening is something very, very important. I was once there for a golden jubilee, and once the toast was raised for the couple, the husband got up and said, I've just one secret of my 50 years of my married life. I can truly say they were golden years. And he said the secret is very simple, that on the day we got married, we told each other, every day we will talk and listen to one another. Talk and listen to one another. This is a simple thing he said. The wife also, she also got up and said, yes, that is true. This is a promise we made to each other. Every day we will talk to listen to one another. For me personally, when I deal with families, and when I realize this family is a family that talks and listens, I think a lot of good can happen. It can apply to communities like a religious community also. Once it's talking and listening, a lot of good can happen. Goodness stops when only one person talks and the other person doesn't talk. Or both talk, nobody listens. This is what brings in problems. So what humanizes us, what makes our families functional today is all of this. Remember these 3 points, plus all the 6 other points which can bring in this functionality into our families. My dear friends, the family situation is not all that great today. We can hear of broken families, we can hear of divorce, we can hear of families where children are totally disobedient. So the family situation is not all that great. But I'm happy that many of you all have taken this interest to make our families more functional. But as I was mentioning, it all starts with this. I need to heal myself in order to heal others, to become a healing presence for others. Okay, by the way, I forgot. You have done a drawing, no? Drawing. Speak a little about the drawing that you made. Now look at the drawing that you made. And see, the instruction I gave was draw your family, all of you doing something together. The first thing you have to check is, have you actually drawn your family doing something together, or each member is doing things separately? That's the first question to be used. If you have done something, drawing the family taking part in one activity, everybody is taking part in one activity, it is a positive sign. If you have drawn each one of you, if is doing separately something, somebody is sweeping or somebody is doing this or somebody is watching television, whatever it is, it kind of indicates a kind of discord. I mean, it's not, I'm just talking in general terms now. The real result is when people sit in front of me. That's one thing. Second important thing is, see how you have drawn your family members. Are all of them drawn with that same care, or some are drawn just casually and some are drawn well? Third thing, see whom you have drawn next to whom. Like, for example, if you have drawn yourself, who is standing next to you and who is standing the furthest from you? Now, all these questions will reveal something to you. Who is standing next to you? Who is standing next to whom? So when you reflect over your drawing, it will reveal a lot of your family dynamics to you. Now, what I'm telling is are only in general terms. If you were coming all by yourself, then you would have gotten the more specific kind of interpretation of that drawing. It is called as a kinetic family drawing. So this is just by way of some information. Okay.
Please, may I request Sister Arogya to wind up with a vote of thanks.
1 Corinthians chapter 13 speaks of love. Our first lessons of life, prayer, virtues of forgiveness, sacrifice, and communion are learned in the family. On behalf of our provincial Sister Brahmadin, the link person for Family Apostolate and Pastoral Commission, Sister Evelyn Montero, I would like to thank you, Father Tony Menezes, for your enlightening and encouraging presentation on family values. Our deep gratitude to you, Father, for taking time to be with us and enriching us to keep our families holy, happy, united, and functional in these present times. My sincere appreciation to all the sisters and the families for attending this much appreciated seminar on family values. May the Lord help us to make our families functional from dysfunctional by realizing that the good or bad of one member affects all the other members. I wish to conclude with a quote by Mother St. Teresa. If you wish to change the world, go home and love your family. God bless you all. Thank you.